Hi, my name's Kim LaPierre, and together with my colleagues Megan Avolio and Kevin Wilcox, we are leading the LTER working group about integrating plant community and ecosystem responses to chronic global change drivers. So the main goals of our working group are to try to figure out how global change factors are going to be impacting communities and then ecosystems. So starting out, we know that global change factors can impact communities in lots of different ways. We could see physiological responses of organisms to those change factors, or we could see changes in communities. So perhaps changes in the dominant structure or evenness, species reordering, so changes in the relative abundances of species within a community, as well as loss of species or immigration of new species into communities. And altogether, these physiological and community responses can scale up to impact ecosystem responses, so things such as primary productivity or carbon storage. And so our main objectives are to first identify how global change factors are impacting plant communities, and then link these community changes into ecosystem functions, and finally incorporate community change into big process-based models. So we've gathered a big group of participants for this working group, spanning both ecosystem modelers as well as ecological empiricists. So a few of us are pictured here. And in addition to all of the people who have attended our working groups in person, we also have a bunch of data providers, so people who gave us their data for our analyses who are not able to attend in person. And then finally, we've had some help developing an R package from Ian Carroll, Lauren Hallett, and Matt Jones, which I'll tell you about a little bit later. So what we're doing is utilizing a database that was developed from a prior LTER working group called the Core database. This database has data from global change manipulations in herbaceous sites from all around the world. And we are statistically assessing how communities and ecosystems are responding to these experimental global change manipulations, as well as strategizing how to better incorporate grassland or herbaceous systems into big earth system models, and looking at community change through these ecosystem or earth system models. So we've had a few different findings so far. The first is we found that about half of the time, plant communities are not responding to global change factors, but in the half of the time that they are responding to these experimental global change drivers, we see that that change occurs in all different aspects of the plant community. So here, this figure is showing across the x-axis the proportion of communities that respond in each of the different ways that are shown on the y-axis. And the colors show in purple the communities that are not responding significantly, and green shows the ones that are not responding significantly. And we see that across all of our different types of community change, ranging from species gains and losses, changes in richness, rank changes, so reordering of relative abundances, or changes in evenness of the plant community, we see all of these different types of changes occurring in response to global change drivers. Next, we can try to link this up to changes in ecosystem function. So here we're looking at the difference in productivity driven by various different global change drivers on the x-axis. And we're using a structural equation modeling approach. So this figure shows, looking in the first year of these experimental manipulations, we initially see that changes in productivity are driven mainly by changes in the physiology of the plant species that we're looking at. So they tend to grow more when they're provided with more nitrogen, and they tend to grow more when they have other various different global change factors manipulated. So these are more disturbances like mowing or burning. But then through time, so this is showing year 9, we see that changes in the plant community start to become really important as well. So in addition to the direct physiological response of these global change drivers, we see all of our various community factors like reordering, evenness differences, species gains and losses, and richness, combining to affect the community composition of the plants and speed up again to affect productivity. And then finally, we're finding that earth system models currently are doing a pretty poor job of predicting how ecosystem function is going to change following plant community shifts with global change drivers. So this example shows the simulated ANPP from an earth system model on the y-axis compared to the observed ANPP of an experiment on the x-axis, for two different model types. One is an ecosystem model shown in red, and one is a demography model shown in blue. And the line is the one-to-one line. So if the model well predicts the observed productivity, all the points should fall along that one-to-one line. And we see that with ambient communities, they typically do, so the models are doing a pretty good job of predicting ANPP. But then when we look at our new communities that emerge after global change drivers have been impacting them for several years, we see that the models do a very poor job of predicting observed productivity. And so really trying to incorporate these community changes into our Earth system models in a more robust way is necessary for being able to predict this ecosystem function in these altered communities in the future. Another thing we learned at our meetings is that empiricists and modelers are speaking very different languages, but we really feel like we're able to overcome these barriers just by getting together and talking to each other more. So that's one of the main goals of our working group as well. So what have we got so far? We have an R package update to the codyn package, so codyn 2.0, which was led by Megan Avolio. So she has a paper in review right now. And we're actually presenting this package at the ASM meeting. So come by Monday at 1:30 in the Triton meeting room and you could try the package out for yourself. In addition, we're looking at community responses to global change drivers and species responses to global change drivers. So one of our working group members, Adam Langley, has a paper in press right now in global change biology, looking how species are responding to these various different factors, as well as just ambient species changes through time at our sites. And then finally, as I mentioned, we're really trying to foster collaboration among empiricists and modelers across these different working groups and sites. And then coming up, we're about to have our last meeting of our working group at the end of October, where we plan to continue working on several different products that we have in prep. So one is looking at mechanisms of community responses to global change drivers. Another is linking these community and AMPP responses to these various global change factors. And a third is an outline for how empiricists and modelers could better collaborate together in the future. And then finally, we're really excited at our next meeting in October to look at how we can enhance existing Earth system models to include better representation of herbaceous systems and these community changes in response to global change drivers. So Megan Avolio and Kevin Wilcox and I are going to be around ASM all week. And if you're interested in these questions or anything else about our working group, we're happy to talk to you more. So just come find us, and we're looking forward to seeing you there.